Hello, this will be a short tutorial for Karuul Alert and how it can be used to help you with mage rotations, either the Pyrolock rotation or the Defilemancer rotation. The first thing that I'm going to do is just open Karuul Alert, just with the /Karuul Alert command to open it. You'll notice that I already have a number of settings, icons set up here. I'll go through these one at a time with you in just a moment. If this is the first time you've ever used Karuul Alert, then what you'll need to do is tick this box here for Enable Ability Scanner, close Karuul Alert, attack a dummy for a short while using all of your abilities, and then come back to Karuul Alert, disable Ability Scanner, and then when you're typing in various names of buffs, for instance Searing Vitality, it'll auto-fill them out, fill out their icons for you and so on. So if this is the first time you've ever used Karuul Alert, then make sure you do that first. But we're not doing that, we're going to look at what I've already done. I have 8 icons in total here to track all the abilities I use. If I was using Defilemancer, then I would have a 9th in the form of Defile. But as this is just the Pyrolock spec 3630, we'll just be looking at the 8 that I used there. So the first thing we're going to look at is sacrifice life damage, which I've abbreviated to SLD. If I just click edit so you can see the settings. In here I have selected that it is a buff. The buff name has been filled out. It is cast on the player itself. We want to know when it's active, and we only want to know when it's in combat. We don't need to run around doing day-to-day things with an icon on our screen. We also have a timer attached to this one. You can position the timer however you want, that's up to you. The timer is just so that we can keep an eye on how long is left out of the 15-second duration for it. So that's sacrifice life damage. The next one we're going to look at is Internalize Charge. Essentially you will always have one or the other of these two constantly active. You will generally lead in with sacrifice life damage, and then once that has expired you should have a full charge bar and you will swap to Internalize Charge, and then once that expires, sacrifice life damage should be back available again on cooldown, so you'll be able to cast that. I have a macro here which casts sacrifice life damage, and then when I press it a second time it casts Internalize Charge, and I have the cooldown being tracked on the icon ability here. I will include the macros for my abilities in the video description. So Internalize Charge is pretty much exactly the same thing, except there's no timer because it's not a specific timed ability. It just depends how much charge you have. You can't attach a timer to it. So you select that it is a buff called Internalize Charge, cast on the player. That it is, you want to know when it's active, and you only want to know when you're in combat. So we click all of that and we save that. Then we want to know when Flame Bolt becomes available. Flame Bolt giving us our 10% damage boost. So Flame Bolt, I just click edit so you can see the settings. It is an ability. The ability is Flame Bolt. We want to know when it's ready, and we only want to know when we are in combat. After Flame Bolt, we want to know when Dark Touch will become available. So it is a buff. It is on the target this time. Make sure you tick the correct box. It's called Dark Touch. We want to know when it's missing, and we only want to know in combat. Then we're going to move through the rest of our dots, which include countdown. So buff, countdown on the target. We want to know when it's missing. We only want to know in combat. Same thing for Searing Vitality, exactly the same thing, just a difference in buff name. And finally Life Leech. There is a slight difference to Life Leech in that I have selected a timer for Life Leech. 6 seconds before it expires I want the icon to appear so that I can recast it by casting a Void Bolt, which refreshes Life Leech, but I have to take into account the fact that I might be casting something else like Fireball, which has a 2-second cast time. I also have to take into account the travel time to the target for Void Bolt, because it's not an instant hit. It has a travel time from where you are to where the target is. So I want to know roughly 6 seconds beforehand Void Bolt itself has a cast time as well, so I may well need to finish casting a Fireball, cast a Void Bolt, and then wait for that Void Bolt to hit the target. So 6 seconds is generally a good amount of time to get all of that done and still refresh Life Leech without it falling off and having to recast it manually. So the final ability to track is Heat Wave. Now Heat Wave is exactly the same as Flame Bolt. It's an ability called Heat Wave. We want to know when it's ready, and we only want to know in combat. So that's all of the settings set up. I'll include a string which you can import by going to File, Import Set, and then you would simply copy and paste the string into here and click Import. And that will import all of these if you want to use my settings. So I'll include that at the bottom of the video description. I'm just going to go through a couple more things, and then we will position everything, and I'll show you how it all works in combat. So the thing that I want to show you is that I have on some of the abilities some text. This just says 2 on Countdown and Searing Vitality, both say 2. Life Leech currently says 3, but I don't actually want that to say anything, so I'm just going to remove that. The other one is Flame Bolt. I just edit that. There's a 1. And Dark Touch, also a 1. You might wonder why I have this text in, but it just corresponds to the ability keys here. This here is Flame Bolt and Dark Touch in one macro, and Countdown and Searing Vitality in another. And it's just so that when these icons appear on screen, it's just a little prompt for what button I'm supposed to be pressing. Sometimes when you're in the middle of a raid, everything's going crazy, you've just got too much in your mind, and it's just a little hidden reminder, or your mind goes blank sometimes, whatever makes this particularly complex rotation easier, really. So now that that's all set up, you've got all of these input and saved at the side here. We're just going to edit the layout. So when I edit layout, you'll notice that there are a number of icons here. When you first edit the layout, your icons will be here in the top left corner. You'll need to drag them down and position them where you want them. Now I currently have my Sacrifice Life Damage and my Internalize Charge stacked on top of each other, and the reason for that is that this position here is where I want my power abilities. This is where my self-buff abilities are that give me an increase in my output for my damage. And it doesn't really matter which one's available, I just want to know that something's available, so I keep an eye that there is always an icon here. If there isn't, then I just press my Q, and whichever one is next to go will power up. So I just have these two stacked on top of each other to make sure that I always have something available here to remind me that I should be having some kind of power boost. The rest of them, these 5, 6 here, these are for the various dots and cooldowns that we have available to us. Obviously there's Flame Bolt, Dark Touch, Countdown, Searing Vitality, Life Leech and Heat Wave. I'll cover Heat Wave later, let's just focus on these 5. I've positioned them all here because these is effectively relate to where my keys are. This here is where my Q button is. This is button 1, button 2, and then button 3 renews this, although I haven't got a 3 on this because I have a countdown timer in here reminding me when there's 6 seconds left, remember. So there's no button on here, but they effectively relate to 1, 2, 3, and the positions on the screen help you kind of coordinate the positions of the keys that you should be pressing. So I've tried to make it very intuitive how you trigger and refresh each of these abilities. So now that they're all set, it's up to you whether you position them here, perhaps you want them on the center of your screen, perhaps you want them below your character, you want them set up some other way. It's entirely up to you. This works for me, you do whatever works for you. Once you've got them in place, save and close Karuul Alert. There's nothing here for the time being. I'm just going to quickly run through the abilities just so that you can see how it all works in combat. Okay, I'm going to start attacking the dummy in front of me now. I've turned off the in-game sound so that the sound of combat doesn't drown out my voice. So here we go. I'm just going to run through all of my abilities, all of my dots, get them all running so that you can see that as each one is cast, all of the icons disappear, but when items come off cooldown or need refreshing, the icons will reappear. And in the meantime, if there's nothing to cast, I'll be casting Fireball. And so I just keep this up, and I'm letting my Internalize Charge or sacrifice life damage fall off there, which is very, very bad performance. But this really is just to show you how it works. I'm not trying to kind of show off any DPS here at all. This is quite terrible, to be honest, but it does get the point across of how this works. You can see that this will make things a lot easier because you're not having to keep an eye on a bunch of moving buffs and debuffs at the bottom of your screen. You're not macroing anything in that you don't want to be available. You're just casting things when and as they should be cast. And the icons here just remind you exactly what it is that you should be casting, and if there's nothing to be cast right this moment, you just fill in with Fireball, and that's it. And round we go with the dots and debuffs. And so there you have it. I'm going to stop there for the time being. Just come out of combat. But that essentially is all there is to it. By creating these icons and putting them in a place that corresponds to your UI and having them appear as and when you need to cast them as prompts, it simplifies the whole rotation. In fact, it's not even a rotation anymore. What you have instead is a priority based system where you are casting things as and when they need to be cast, and in the meantime you're just filling in with Fireball or Wildfire if it's available. If Wildfire comes up and you need to refresh Dark Touch, I personally have put Dark Touch on my Shift 1 button so I can cast it without having to burn through 4 casts of Flame Bolt through a Wildfire first, just to get my dots continuously rolling. It's up to you how you manage that. I'm not saying that the way I'm doing things is the best way either. I'm still learning as a mage and probably will be, because the specs in this game just change constantly. I'm not the greatest player in the world, but this I find has made my life significantly easier, both with this spec and with Defilemancer. So I hope that some people who watch this will find that it helps them too. That's it. Thank you very much for watching.